In House of the Dragon, Episode 7, we saw Vhagar, the largest, most powerful dragon claimed by Aemond at the cost of an eye. Alicent and Rhaenyra's rivalry passing to their children, creating an intergenerational conflict. Laenor faking his death, enabling Rhaenyra and Daemon to get married. And Alicent showing her true colors, demanding an eye for an eye. But what does it all mean? In this video, I will explain everything that happened in the episode and all of the Easter eggs I saw. Spoiler warning if you have not yet seen the episode. Episode 7 opens with the funeral of Laenor Velaryon after she had Vhagar put her down due to birth complications last episode. Aemond, Corlys's brother, gives the eulogy, speaking in High Valyrian. He seems visibly mad, glaring at Rhaenyra and her children, saying salt courses through Valyrian blood, and it runs thick and true, and must never thin, subtly hinting that like everyone else, he knows that Rhaenyra's children are not true Velaryons. This is a big deal. If the true parentage of Rhaenyra's children were to be revealed to the realm, Aemond would technically be next in line to inherit Driftmark should anything happen to Corlys. So if Rhaenyra's children were confirmed as bastards, Aemond might make a move to claim Driftmark. Aemond also mentions the Merling King in his speech, who was a god worshipped by many near the Narrow Sea between Essos and Westeros. The Velaryons even claimed that the Driftwood throne was a gift to them from the Merling King. Otto Hightower is also back as Hand of the King after the death of Lionel Strong last episode. We see 5 dragons atop Driftmark. It is hard to tell who is who, but I think we see Vhagar, Caraxes, Seasmoke, Meleys, and Syrax. Let me know which dragons you think are present in this scene in the comments below. We see more dragons at the end of the episode when the Greens leave. We see Vhagar, Sunfire, the Mount of Aegon, and Dreamfire, the Mount of Helaena Targaryen. This is the same dragon that Aemond saw last episode. Helaena Targaryen, Alicent's daughter, the weird bug girl, gave some more strange dialogue. In the previous episode, she said for Aemond to claim a dragon, he would have to first close an eye. And in this episode, we saw Aemond trade an eye for Vhagar. So Helena's words seem to indicate that she has some knowledge of the future. She probably experiences dragon dreams, prophetic visions of the future. We know Viserys and Aegon the Conqueror were dragon dreamers, so it makes sense that at least one of the kids in this generation also possesses the ability. But these visions are notoriously hard to fully comprehend, so Helaena might not even be aware she has the power. In this episode, she says, "Hand turns loom, spool of green, spool of black, dragons of flesh, weaving dragons of thread." I believe it might just be a symbolic dream about the Targaryen bloodline being represented as a tapestry. A loom is a tool to weave thread together, and Helena's words seem to symbolize the 2 branches of the Targaryen family being woven together to form the Targaryen bloodline into a tapestry, with Alicent's branch being represented as the spool of green. We know her followers were referred to as the Greens, named after her dresses, which means the spool of black refers to Rhaenyra's branch. Her followers are known as the Blacks. This period in history was known as the Dance of Dragons, so the weaving of the threads could also be interpreted as a dance. If you have any insights into this, comment below what you think it all means. Through Aegon and Aemond, we learned that Aegon and Helaena are betrothed, but Aegon seems more interested in getting with anyone else. We saw last episode he was interested in 2 serving girls. The show seems to be hinting that Aegon has a sexual appetite, and it seems likely that he will father at least a couple of bastards. That might further complicate the line of succession in the future. Aegon marrying Helaena might seem weird to us, but it is common for Targaryens to marry a close relative to ensure their blood, the blood of the dragon, was maintained. This was done to preserve the magical properties of the blood, which was believed to be the key to controlling dragons. Interestingly, Aegon is opposed to the idea, but Aemond says had he been asked, he would do his duty. Aemond's willingness to embrace Targaryen tradition might indicate that he is more in tune with what it means to be a true Targaryen. Like a true Targaryen, Aemond claims Vhagar later in the episode, which also sends him on a power trip. This attitude might hint towards Aemond's future, making him believe that as a Targaryen he is superior to other men. He has the right to conquer and do as he pleases, regardless of the opinions and laws of common men. In the previous episode, we saw Aemond was belittled and bullied by his brother and nephews for not yet having a dragon. This desire to prove himself leads Aemond to claim Vhagar, the most powerful creature in the world. Claiming Vhagar would go a long way to reinforce Aemond's superiority as a Targaryen and might influence him to take what he wants in the future. He mounts and flies on Vhagar, desperately clinging to the great beast as they soar through the night sky. In the books, these dragon saddles had chains that the rider would tether themselves to, and we can see why that would be important, as Aemond almost loses his grip several times. This plot point of riders attaching themselves to their dragons will become important later in the series. After his first flight, Aemond is confronted by Rhaenyra and Daemon's children. Baela and Rhaena are upset, and Rhaena states that Vhagar was hers to claim. Last episode, we saw that Rhaena had not yet hatched or claimed a dragon, but her mother reassured her that if she wants a dragon, she just needs to claim one. Claiming Vhagar would have felt like a way to honor the memory of her mother, but dragons are rarely passed from parent to child, typically being claimed by an individual with blood of the dragon who had the bravery to do so. In this case, Aemond beat Rhaena to it. He says if you wanted her, you should have claimed her, further reinforcing the belief that Aemond can take what he wants. Clearly, claiming Vhagar has made Aemond's ego skyrocket, but he still feels resentment for the whole pink dread joke last episode, blaming Luke and Jace instead of Aegon. But with Vhagar, he is no longer the helpless outsider. Now that he has claimed the largest Targaryen dragon, who could possibly look down on him or even oppose him? But this new attitude and ego does him no favors. His words bring Baela and Rhaena to attack him, with Luke and Jace joining the assault. Aemond defends himself, beating down his relatives, naming the boys bastards, an insult that causes Jace to draw his dagger. In the scuffle, the blade is knocked to the ground, and as Aemond approaches Jace to crush him with a rock, Luke picks up the blade, striking Aemond across his face, taking an eye in the process. Interestingly, for the most part, Aemond was winning the fight, despite being outnumbered. Sure, he was older and bigger, but this also subtly hints that under Criston Cole, Aemond is quickly growing into a skilled warrior. This conflict also solidifies an intergenerational rivalry. Rhaenyra and Alicent's hatred and contempt for each other has clearly passed on to their children. The Kingsguard arrived too late to stop the brawl, and you can see Harold Westerling thinking that someone is getting fired over this. Meanwhile, Aemond and Rhaenyra have a moonlit walk on the beach, ending in some standard Targaryen incest. Rhaenyra also says that she did try to have kids with Laenor, but they were unsuccessful, which is why she eventually turned to Harwin. It seems that in her age, she has come to understand the importance of having children, not just as heirs to ensure her line of succession, but also to add dragons and dragon riders to her cause. It is implied that part of the reason for marrying Daemon is to have more Targaryen children, who in turn will become dragon riders, to act as a deterrent should she be opposed. Think of it like an arms race, but instead of manufacturing weapons of mass destruction, it is a race to rally as many dragons and riders to her side. The easiest way to do this is to have more children. After the incident, everyone is gathered in the Hall of the Nine. We saw the Hall of the Nine in episode 5. It acts as a monument to Corlys Velaryon's vanity, displaying his immense wealth and trophies gathered from his 9 great voyages, where he ventured across much of the known world. The scene is reminiscent of Season 1, Episode 2 of Game of Thrones, when Robert Baratheon had to mediate between Arya and Joffrey, after Joffrey was being a twat and attacked the butcher's boy, and Arya's direwolf bit him to make him stop. Robert wants to be done with the issue, but Cersei demands a payment in blood for the injury of her son and causes the death of Lady in place of Nymeria, creating a wedge between the two families. Just like Robert, Viserys doesn't want to deal with the issue and just wants everyone to get along and move past it. However, Alicent, like Cersei, is determined for justice to be served, demanding an eye for an eye. When it is clear Viserys is not going to deliver her desired justice, she takes matters into her own hands, ordering Sir Criston to take Luke's eye as punishment. When the Kingsguard hesitates, she invokes his oath to her. As her sworn protector, he is oath-bound to carry out her commands. The subtext here is that he owes his life to Alicent. She has kept the secret of his affair with Rhaenyra, and if that secret were to be made public, he would surely be executed. With this in mind, Sir Criston agrees to carry out her wishes. But before he can, Viserys Viserys intervenes. Eventually, Alicent grows frustrated with the situation, and Rhaenyra continually being allowed to flaunt the law. She steals Viserys' dagger and threatens Rhaenyra in front of everyone. Rhaenyra almost enjoys the situation, saying, "Exhausting, wasn't it? Hiding behind the cloak of your own righteousness. But now they see you as you are." Finally, after years of trying to subtly undermine Rhaenyra, Alicent's outburst of emotion has revealed her grudge against Rhaenyra and her willingness to mutilate children in front of the king and the realm, going so far to draw Rhaenyra's blood. This scene acts to lift the facade of their relationship, making it clear that there are two sides to this conflict, and the realm needs to pick sides. Alicent or Rhaenyra. There is obviously a lot more going on in this scene. A couple of things to note are the positions and actions of the onlookers. Interestingly, unlike the rest of House Velaryon, Aemond, Corlys's younger brother, stands with Alicent during the confrontation. His eyes are fixed on his older brother, evaluating his reaction to the accusations that Rhaenyra's children are not actually Laenor's, which likely confirms his suspicion that the children are bastards, and worse still, Corlys was aware of it, meaning by rights, House Velaryon and Driftmark should fall to him in the event of Corlys's death. Perhaps this will be a catalyst for Aemond to betray his brother and lay a claim on Driftmark. Corlys, for his part, is unsurprised by the accusation. We found out earlier in the episode he is aware of the truth, but his ambitions care not for blood. A name is more important, and he wants the Velaryon name to rise. This ambition might put him in conflict with Aemond, so we'll see how this plot point develops. Harold Westerling eyes Criston Cole and seems opposed to his decision to side with Alicent over the king. Even within the Kingsguard, there is a conflict. Daemon watches the whole situation unfold from the door, but moves to oppose Sir Criston when he approaches Rhaenyra. When Viserys leaves, he mistakes Alicent for his first wife, Aemma, which might be a subtle way of showing that his health is fading both mentally and physically. Alicent is reassured by her father that what she did was the right thing. It acted as a show of strength in opposition to the hypocrisy of Viserys and Rhaenyra, proving to the realm that it is possible to stand up to them, which might inspire more allies to come forward who oppose the king and his chosen heir, instilling them with confidence to back Aegon instead. Seeing the writing on the wall, Rhaenyra needs to strengthen her position and plots to murder Laenor. Daemon offers Laenor's lover wealth to carry out the plot, but in a twist, Khal and Laenor stage his death and the pair sail off into the sunset. I got the sense that Daemon and Rhaenyra were at least partially in on the plan. Rhaenyra says that she doesn't want to be a tyrant who rules through terror, implying she doesn't really want to kill Laenor, but Daemon recognizes the power of fear and its impact on her subjects and enemies. Staging Laenor's death ensures a compromise between the two, instilling fear into her enemies, just as Daemon wants. This same fear could keep her allies in line, and with Laenor gone, she would be free to marry Daemon, acquiring him as a strong ally. It's clear Daemon was in on the plan when he kills the guard in the stairwell, who was likely used as the corpse in the fire, and Daemon saying granting Laenor this kindness and setting him free seems to indicate that Daemon and Rhaenyra might have helped with the cover-up. So I think the pair were in on the plan. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. This situation does leave one question. What will happen to Laenor's dragon Sea Smoke? We saw Vhagar claimed by Aemond almost as soon as Laenor had passed. So will someone try to claim Sea Smoke? How will that go if his rider is truly not dead? Alternatively, Sea Smoke might disappear to follow Laenor into the east, which might reveal to some he's actually still alive. Maybe Laenor will return on Sea Smoke later in the story. We did see Gendry row off, only to return later in Game of Thrones. So perhaps we'll see the same here. Laenor shaving his head to hide his Valyrian features is also a nod to Egg from the tales of Dunk and Egg. Egg in the story was actually Aegon Targaryen and shaved his head to hide his silver hair that marked him as a Targaryen. Some even theorize that Varys might be a Blackfire, a Targaryen cadet branch, and he shaves his head to hide his identity in a similar way. Finally, Larys Strong offers to rebalance the scales and take an eye as payment for Alicent, but she rejects the offer, making it clear that she appreciates him and will need him in the future. So expect to see more manipulation and schemes later in the series.